I want to do that again because I literally had a piece of hair on my thing and it was driving me crazy. I'm not gonna go out like that. So I'm gonna do this. If it's better than the other one, I'm gonna delete the other one. If it's not, I'm gonna just put up with the hair thing. But I'm gonna do this again. So Wes Huff crushes rapid fire questions about Jesus. So I just want to show you his voice because I don't want to do the whole switch around thing. But Peirs Morgan makes a statement here, and I'm going to get to that statement in a minute. But I have a relative. We just kind of say things. I'm not going to tell you who the relative is, but he made a statement about this, that, and the other. Something I heard from NPR. Blah blah blah. And let me play this statement. This is concerning Jesus' non-existence, assumably. First of all, let's just pause this play. You're going to have to argue with the Antipolati. It is a first account of, I believe it's Pontius Pilate, witnessing his death, or witnessing his courtroom appearance. You're going to have to argue with Josephus and many other historians, as well as the 500 witnesses. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up the credibility for the 500 witnesses after I play this.
We're off to a good start here.
Eyewitness testimony notoriously is unreliable. It's the least credible evidence in a courtroom these days, for example.
All right. The last bit of what he said. First, he said, eyewitness testimony is unreliable. And then he goes, these days. Let's see if he said, I'll be fair. Let's see if he said historically. Hold on.
Reliable. It's not,
But we're off to a good start here.
eyewitness testimony notoriously is
Notoriously, okay. You could say that is a continuation, a statement of continuation, notoriously, something that is notorious for being such and such. All right. But let's set the context of today. Because he said these days, so we're talking about these days. Let's go back. Let's go back to 2,000 years ago. Let's set up a couple of things. One, eyewitness testimony in terms of being unreliable. All right. We all know the argument of the 500 witnesses. We all know the argument in terms of if they would have testified for Christ, okay, they would be crucified. Right. Now let's put that there and let's fast forward into the future and say, well, probably not going to get crucified if we testify of, I don't know, Mahatma Gandhi. Okay, probably not. As a matter of fact, if we testify of Jesus Christ, we're not going to get crucified. In some places, we might lose our job, this, that, and the other, but we're not going to get crucified. Okay, crucified. Just let that settle in. Now let's rewind to 2,000 years ago. In terms of attention, okay, we've established these people are probably not going to fake this guy's death or lie about witnessing him raising from the dead because they would have been crucified. But if we're going to set the stage for their attention to details, let's fast forward. It's not like today. This is a microwave generation. I have so much stuff that I've learned, and I've forgotten 99.9% of it for whatever reason. All right? Let's rewind. The Apostle Paul. And this is, I know he is the exception, but you got to remember, even society as a whole. All right, but let me just tell you about the Apostle Paul. He would take a scroll. He was a scribe. I believe he was a Pharisee, but I believe he was also a scribe. To be able to do this, I think you had to be a scribe, which is to take a testament, write it down, and roll it up. And he would take a hot needle and he'd stick it through. And this was a practice. He'd stick it through that scroll, and then when they open up, he'd be able to tell you every jot and tittle, every word, as well as jot and tittle, that pen went through. Now, what's the importance of that? Because it denotes the scribe's ability to not only remember, but the detail of what he wrote, the quality of how he rolled the scroll. Okay, it tells you a lot of information. But one thing it does for certain tell you is that there's a lot of attention to detail back then. Now we assume today, as people that have said, we're progressives, we assume today that if we go to the scripture, knowledge has increased, and that wording in the scripture, in the last days knowledge will increase, means exponentially. We assume that is saying that knowledge means attention to detail, and you say, of course it's attention to detail. Look at quantum computing. Yes, in that sense, and certainly there are smart people, but as someone who is an accountant or someone who plays the stock market, I don't have to know math to the T. In market maker manipulation, all I need is a calculator. In accounting, all I need is a calculator. I don't have to take a customer and say, well, I remember this and remember this and remember this. I mean, it's good to highlight things. That's not what's happening back then. They were able to remember without the technology that we have today. So the argument that he is presenting to us, which is, it's disingenuous to say that testimony or eyewitness accounts is frivolous, because he follows it with nowadays. And we do this a lot. We say these seemingly intelligent things, but if we were to be placed back then and say the same thing in front of these people that are extremely intelligent, we assume that they're not. These people were able to design their life according to weather. They had to pay attention. These people were able to understand astrology according to the mapped stars. They had to pay attention. We don't have to pay attention. I'm going to a customer's house, let's just say. This is scribble. I don't have to memorize this. Let's just say I need to leave this at home. I could take a picture of it, and then right before I get there, I can go, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Oh, well, the number is da 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 da. Paul and others, okay, doctor practices. We get our practices for washing hands from the priest in the temple in Israel. They had something called an eggshell. They had two of them. They would dip their hand, dip their hands, wash. They'd dip their hands in the clean rinse, and they'd hold their palms up, or the hands up, and water would drip down to the elbow. This was to ensure the cleanliness before they handled the scrolls, before they wrote things down. We get that practice from them. They didn't get it from us. So it's very disingenuous and we just kind of take these things at face value. This is just a matter of fact, because Piers Morgan said it. He's on TV and he's got a nice, but we see things in a certain light because I'm here now and I see this then. I can't see 2,000 years ago. But if I were to take the average debater and I play in myself included and place them in the context of that, I might have a lot to say. I might have a lot of stuff to say, and a lot of stuff might be right. But the average person is able to say, yeah, but that's not able to flesh out. I know all this about horticulture, and I could just, yeah, that's okay, fantastic. But it's like the engineer that goes to the labor pool and tries to tell them how this thing functions on paper and should function in reality. It's like, yeah, it functions on paper, but we're going to have to tweak this to get it to function in reality, and you're going to have to cut this out, and this out, and every engineer knows that. Anyway, I just want to point that out. I'm probably going to, this one's okay. I like what I said earlier, but I got this, I can't stand it. I got a little weird hair thing sticking out. I'm just saying, I'm like, It's just disingenuous.
Look into it for yourself. But we're off to a good start here.
Eyewitness testimony notoriously is unreliable. It's the least credible evidence in a courtroom these days, for example.
Yes, Peirs. These days, we're living in an idiocracy, and you're going to compare these days with then. You know, it's just not going to fly, brother. Sorry. 500 witnesses witnessed the guy raised from the dead at pain of crucifixion. 500 witnesses, amongst others, including Pontius Pilate, Josephus, were able to were able to write about this man because of their attention to detail. That's just 2 points. I don't know if there's others. I'm sure there's a lot of others, but that's just 2 significant points. So that when you point out, we're taking a sample from today and saying, well, we case studied this and these witnesses are unreliable. Yeah, because they're living in the 21st freaking century. I can't pay attention long enough not to pick my freaking nose. What are you talking about, bro? Shakapatil. Ma brakinas abrungi babungi.